An all-out search of the hills and areas around Russell County and Casey counties trying to find the whereabouts of the missing Russell County woman.
Coming up, we'll have the latest on the investigations into two threatening messages found in Lincoln County, one of those prompting school officials to call off classes.
And how can you tell if this mailing is an attempt to rip you off? We'll tell you what happened to one Lexington woman coming up.
This is WKYT News at 5:30.
Good evening. It's been more than a month since a southern Kentucky woman was last seen, and today dozens of people turned out to help her family look for her.
24-year-old Whitney Copley was last seen near her Russell County home on September 30th. Her family tells us they received some new leads over the weekend, but as our Phil Pendleton found out, Copley's family is losing hope that they'll find her alive. He tells us why in our top story at 5:30.
Much of the search today has focused on areas in and around U.S. Highway 127. The family says they've received various tips, and today they tried to follow up on as many of those as they could. Relatives say they found some evidence Sunday that the 24-year-old woman may have been along old US 127 near the Casey-Russell County line.
Found a tarp and there was a bed back behind it, and they found a pair of Whitney's pants there.
A call went out for people to flood the area Monday to search for her, and about 50 showed up.
We want to find her to be able to have a funeral and to have it over. You know, this whole month has been a nightmare.
Her family says she disappeared more than a month ago. Some have given up hope that she'll be found alive.
And my gut feeling from the beginning is that she probably overdosed, and then they just kind of freaked out and didn't know what to do.
State police are investigating as well, but say relatives plan today's search. Family says they are receiving tips and anonymous information about what may have happened.
You know, among the drug community and the people that are talking, it consistently comes up that she was dropped off a bridge.
The search today was organized by the family, but Kentucky State Police was there along with members of the Russell County Search and Rescue Squad. Police tell me that they were there simply to show support for the family. They say as far as the investigation, they say they cannot comment on that at this time. In Casey County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Relatives are offering a $6,000 reward for information that leads them to Whitney Copley.
City and school leaders are not taking it lightly. Today, schools across Lincoln County were closed after a threatening message was found written in graffiti at Crab Orchard Elementary School. Another message was found spray painted outside of a Stanford dentist's office. Hillary Thornton is tracking the investigation into the threats.
Two different buildings in Lincoln County bearing separate but alarming messages.
It's something you can't take lightly.
The first message found targeting Stanford City Hall, spray painted outside of a dentist's office, about a half mile from the building that houses the mayor's office, the city clerk, and the street department.
It had the word City Hall, and then it had a time, and then it just the word boom.
A search of the building and the area by officers and a bomb-sniffing dog, finding no threats, leading investigators to believe the building is safe.
We've increased security at City Hall as well as extra patrol citywide until further notice, and especially around that time.
Just hours after that graffiti found in downtown Stanford, another threatening message found here outside of Crab Orchard Elementary. Students and parents were at the school's gym for a basketball practice when they found several drawings outside of the building that included flowers, vulgar statements, and a message on a column stating, quote, "You getting shot down Monday, 10, end quote. Also left at the school was a pair of scissors with the word die written on them.
It had been just the graffiti, we would have cleaned it off and gone on, but because of the one part that was threatening.
Even while considering there has been a significant increase in these types of threats at schools, Superintendent Karen Hatter and other officials all agreed it was best to play it safe and cancel school.
It's always hard to say, oh, we're going to go ahead and have school, because then if something happened, you would be very regretful.
In Lincoln County, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
Police say they do not think the two messages are connected, but they're looking into the possibility. Lincoln County students will return to class on Wednesday after being out tomorrow for Election Day.
A mother and son charged in connection with a deadly shooting over the weekend will face a judge this week. Our county-by-county coverage at 5:30 begins in Madison County. Richmond police have charged Adrian Collins with murder. He and his mother, Melissa Collins, are both charged with tampering with physical evidence. Both of them will be arraigned Wednesday morning. Police tell us Adrian Collins shot and killed 37-year-old Ronnie Kelly. After the shooting, police believe Adrian and his mother tried to hide the gun. Police are still investigating what led up to that shooting. In Perry County, a federal grand jury has indicted 2 former deputy jailers at the Kentucky River Regional Jail. The indictment charges 38-year-old Damon Hickman and 59-year-old William Howe with causing the in-custody death of Larry Trent in 2013. It also charges Hickman with attempting to cover up his involvement in Trent's death. Trent was found unresponsive in his cell at the jail in July of 2013 after investigators say he was beaten during a fight with Hickman and Howe. Both former deputy jailers face a maximum penalty of life in prison. In 2013, a Perry County grand jury indicted the 2 for manslaughter.
We are kicking off a new month with some sun and mild temperatures, and those temperatures could be going up the next couple of days, even warmer. Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey is sweating it out right now.
A lot of folks are probably just outside running through the streets right now, throwing up leaves in the air. Why not? Beautiful day here across central and eastern Kentucky. Farther east, though, we've had a little more in the way of some clouds. Check out this shot from the National Weather Service down in Jackson. You've got still some of the trees that are hanging on to some of the color out there this evening, and some late day sunshine finally hitting the southeastern corner of the state. That cloud line at 4 o'clock when we first came on the air was right on top of the station. It's now into eastern Kentucky, so the clearing continues to progress quickly toward the east and southeast. Area of low pressure across parts of the Carolinas. Any shower threat southeastern Kentucky going by quickly as temperatures drop into the low 50s by the time we hit the late evening hours. Some upper 40s start to show up overnight. Election day, everybody comes up a winner in the weather world. Mild and breezy, not only for Election Day, but into the middle of the week. Guys, by the time we hit Friday, here comes a cold front into town. That means some big changes for the weekend. Wait until you see that temperature drop with the 7-day forecast when I come back here in just a few minutes.
City and state leaders are hoping a nearly $17 million grant will make one of Louisville's busiest roads safer. The money will go towards improving Dixie Highway. Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher hopes to add new crosswalks and lanes just for buses.
Fisher says about 60,000 people drive on Dixie Highway every day, and high number of crashes that happen on that road need to change.
Too much congestion, too many accidents, twice the number of safety problems over here, too many fatalities on this road. So it needs a major remake. We've got double the number of injury collisions here compared to similar road-wise statewide.
The city originally applied for the federal grant money to reduce traffic problems, increase safety and movability along the Dixie Highway corridor between Broadway and the Gene Snyder Expressway. We have a traffic alert to pass along tonight. Crews will be closing part of New Circle Road on the west side of Lexington this week as they continue to work on widening the road. The left lane of the inner loop will be closed starting at 7 tomorrow night. It will reopen around 7 Wednesday morning, and the right lane of the inner loop will be closed on Wednesday night at 7 until 7 Thursday morning. Crews say the closures are needed to move a barrier wall.
What arrives in the mail is sometimes not what it really appears to be. That's the takeaway from the story we're about to tell you. A Lexington woman became suspicious when something did not add up, and she was smart to call the authorities.
There's sort of a scare tactic to make you think that you need to do that to stay in compliance.
No mincing words. Kay Hughes is talking about this mailing used to lure people into paying unnecessary fees. Hughes is head of an alumni association required to file papers with the state for tax purposes.
This company would be glad to file my reports for me, write the reports, and submit them for me for a fee.
Normally, the process costs $15, but this letter says the fee would be $150.
I've done this for 8 to 10 years, and I thought this is the first time I've ever heard of any kind of a $150 fee for something that was required.
She was afraid there had been some sort of change in the laws and something new was required. Kay noticed a few things that looked suspicious, like the misspelling of a street. Lee's Town should be one word. Also, the return address was a UPS box. So she called postal inspectors.
Somewhat a form of trickery.
Inspectors say they see mailings like this every year around this time of year.
As long as they provide that service, it's not fraud, but you don't have to go through them. You can just file with the state for $15 like you do every year.
Also, a major fee increase should be a red flag.
When you see that $150 or an amount that you know you didn't pay last year, you want to know what's going on. Why would they be asking that?
I thought it was pretty sneaky for someone to, I guess, maybe play on your doubts about what the real process was.
Some advice from postal inspectors: if you receive a suspicious mailing, always check with your state's attorney general or your local Better Business Bureau to see if the mailing is in fact legitimate. The candidates for Kentucky governor crossing the Commonwealth, trying to drum up some last-minute support.
And with Election Day tomorrow, officials want to make sure you get out and vote. Bill Bryant tells us how to find out where your polling place is in the bottom line.
Good evening. It's Election Eve in the Commonwealth, and Kentuckians go to the polls statewide starting at 6 o'clock local time tomorrow morning. Today, the candidates for governor were both in the air, crisscrossing the Commonwealth and trying to drum up turnout in the high-stakes but low-interest election where a few votes could make the difference. Jack Conway started his day in northern Kentucky before coming to a rally in Lexington this morning, where he was joined by some other Democratic candidates at Wild Eggs in Palomar. Conway is describing himself as cautiously optimistic at the stops he's making today. And not far from there, and just a few minutes later, Matt Bevin, the Republican nominee, made a final pitch to a crowd at Bluegrass Airport. The Lexington stop started early after he appeared this morning in Louisville with a former rival, Senator Mitch McConnell, who defeated him in last year's Republican U.S. Senate primary. The candidates both left Lexington, headed to stops in western Kentucky, and each major party candidate is expected to wrap up in Louisville tonight. Before heading out to the polls tomorrow, you can verify your registration by checking the Voter Information Center at elect.ky.gov. You should also know the address of your polling place, and you might want to consider the best times to avoid lines. Precinct locations tend to be busiest during the morning and afternoon rush hours and around lunchtime. Former Tennessee Senator Fred Thompson, who was also a Republican presidential candidate, has died. Thompson served as a Watergate attorney and was an actor in more than 20 movies and on the TV show Law and Order. Thompson was 73. And we'll have election coverage throughout the day tomorrow on WKYT News and on a special from 7 until 8 tomorrow evening on WKYT with continuous updates at WKYT.com. And Wednesday, after the results should all be known, the filing window opens for next year's races when voters will decide legislative and congressional seats. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
It is a sweet deal for the kiddos. Kool Smiles in Lexington is encouraging children to bring in their Halloween candy in exchange for a toy.
The candy will be sent in care packages to troops overseas. Operation Gratitude will be putting together that plan of packages. Kool Smiles initiated the program a few years ago to help raise awareness about good dental hygiene, all while giving back to our troops.
We're trying to promote good dental hygiene and also support our troops overseas who, wish they could be with their families on Halloween and see their kids' costumes and all that, So it's really good for the community to come together and just really support our troops overseas.
Children have until November 4th to trade in their Halloween candy for toys. For every 25 pieces of unopened candy, children receive one toy.